Some of you that may have been here before know that I've styled myself as the current events poet, trying to write poetry about events as they happen in these dire times that we're going through. It's interesting, though, that what's happened recently, in fact, just in the last few days, reminded me of something I wrote back in 1988. And it was based on something that was overheard by an author who was an inmate of Auschwitz. I was working on my Holocaust play, the Book of Auschwitz. And what he described was the sayings from a rabbinical student who was part of the Sonderkommando. And they were required to help burn the bodies of their fellows as they were exterminated by the Nazis. But the Nazis, of course, being one of the most evil group on Earth in the history of Earth. But what was interesting that this fellow here, this Jewish guy who was he was exterminated. Of course, there were only a few survivors, but he made this interesting observation, which it seems to be taking place today. Evil is like the hare that jumps ahead while goodness plods along. The tortoise wisdom sticks his head out slowly and takes his time to get his body moving. But his patience and longevity always wins the race. True good is slow to see through evil, and wisdom often too inner-directed and fatalistic. But remember, because evil is what it is, its minions cannot even trust each other and claw each other even at the edge of the fiery pit. And so they always fail because they cannot help each other. But the virtuous cause brings many flying to it as soon as it is recognized. And this, you will notice, is what's happening with the Trump-Musk saga, where they're now clawing at each other's throats, really. They seem to be like evil was helping, but they can't get together because they just, each one has to be the alpha male, or however you want to put it. But as this rabbinical student noticed, it's a theme that occurs throughout history, and here it's happening now. Now, actually jumping to the very current day, we all know that, I hope we all know that we have a duty and that there's a major protest coming up a week from today. I forget exactly where it's going to be in Chicago or the time. My friend here might...
Daily Plaza, June 14th.
And do you know the time?
Noon to 2.
From noon to 2? Great, great.
And maybe longer, depending on how many show up.
Well, we hope there'll be a lot. So this poem is written with that hope. It is called The Call to Come Out to the Protest of June 14th and beyond. Protests of June 14th and beyond. And it was inspired by the fact that yesterday was the anniversary of D-Day. So that's the first line. Yesterday was the anniversary of D-Day. To those who are true patriots, we must say, remember how we were then, whatever color, whether women or men, unless you were a convert of the fascist persuasion, because for the good war and a mighty occasion, Americans in a great cause did mostly unite to rescue the world from a terrible plight. Much more was asked of the people in that time, but though history's not exact, many will say it does rhyme. Forgive me for forgetting to put my glasses on. Not as much is asked of us now who still love freedom. We're not yet at the point where weakness does mean thraldom. The channel we must cross, instead of the English channel, the channel we must cross is more one of the mind, perhaps an obstacle of apathy, but don't be left behind. Just showing up with a song or a sign, and if you are able, getting in the march line. We are not called on to storm a machine gun nest or climb Point du Hoc, and weren't those men the best? In this case, the position to be taken is allegorical and could even be said to be somewhat spiritual. To insist on assurance of life, freedom, and dignity, like the soldiers on D-Day, to fight for humanity. In that sense, we must unite to hit that mythical beach, to make sure the redemption of our land is not out of reach. We can see the slippage in the midst of a spiral toward the ruin of the country and the triumph of the banal. It could be years before the turnaround seems secure, but now the best minds all call on us to seek this cure. Though we have no leader as esteemed as FDR, no generally accepted Ike-like commander, and recognizing that nobody knows everything, still the moment demands that all good people show will with power of purpose. Let us all be resolved with numbers in the millions that we will be involved to send a loud message to the world would-be despots. In the end, their stupid ideology rots. So, will your commitment to democracy, to science and justice and human decency, it will lead and we will lead the path forward to a better world for all, except for the misguided, and their backward wall must fall. On the declared day, D-Day, be at the appointed place. The spirit of activism will you then embrace, with many fellow citizens making our destiny by resisting and defeating the current insanity. That's poem number 1. Get into the protest. Poem number 2. Poem number 2, which I thought of a couple of weeks ago, revised it slightly since. And it is part of a series that I have devised, which was inspired by John Lennon and Yoko Ono's concept for the poem Imagine that was written in the 1970s, and the album to that effect, which was Imagining a Better World. And many of you probably know that, but this is very loosely based on that. And it's one of a series that I'm doing. Imagine there are no tariffs, no grifting crypto cons, no big bad bills with gimmicks, or evil dictators with bombs. Imagine the MAGA people no longer fall for each scam. They don't go for worthless sparkle, and for other people they give a damn. Could they admit, dear leader, maybe had a flaw? And everyone deserves due process. Could they see the value of that law, and even see merit in a protest? Could they just admit an immigrant possesses an innate humanity, or even just agree a needy migrant might actually help the economy? What if those who praise ICE raids may learn to be less cruel? Could they respect the work of cleaning maids, hoping to put their kids through school? Can our fellows who put us in this fix decide to turn to realist thought, finally see through Republican tricks, and embrace social justice for which we have fought? It's possible, MAGA fellows. It's easy if you try. If you'd only see we favor your interests too. The super rich are not your friends. At least open one eye. Ignorance is just bad. Embrace that which is true. Those who voted poorly, make a pledge to work and care for the common good. This country's on a cliff, nearly off the edge. Join us who want a nation of brotherhood. So a plea at the end. Something hopeful, I hope.